And it shows you what scumbags these people are, P. Diner. Nothing is really about charity. It is always about trying to turn around their disastrous PR. Shame on you, Harry. Sometimes a picture just sums up a comparison between two women. And it was when that one posted deal versus no deal this week, contrasting Catherine at Royal Ascot with the real Meghan Markle. And I thought, oh yeah, you've got a very good point. Then Harry, Meghan's spare added this, comparing Catherine not pushing herself into the middle of the award presentation at Royal Ascot and compared the glaring difference to Meghan at the polo. And I thought, yeah, again, you've got a very good point. But nothing sums up the fakery and the nastiness and the fact that Harry and Meghan are now just a couple who use fake PR to get good headlines while not giving a damn about the world than this quite astonishing revelation from Richard Eden in the Daily Mail, who revealed after Harry and Meghan lost their lucrative TV and podcast deals, I was shocked when the Prince announced a staggering £1.1 million donation to children in need. Now I've found out where it really came from, and it isn't his own pocket. So first, I want to show you Prince Harry boasting. Prince Harry's big boast about, I gave all this money to charity.
£1 million donation. Fresh questions online. And new speculation surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Prince Harry is once again making headlines after reports and social media commentary questioned aspects of his recently announced £1.1 million donation to a children's charity in the UK. However, Harry publicly stated that the donation came from his personal funds, and major news outlets reported the gift as a personal contribution to support young people affected by violence. At the same time, rumors about Meghan Markle's future relationship with the UK and the royal family continue to circulate. Could these two stories somehow be connected? Why has a charitable donation suddenly become controversial? And what does it tell us about the extraordinary scrutiny surrounding Harry and Meghan? Stay with us, because this story is about much more than money. It's about trust, public perception, and one of the world's most talked about couples. For years, charitable work has been central to Prince Harry's public image. Long before stepping away from royal duties, Harry built a reputation through initiatives supporting veterans, mental health, and vulnerable children. So when he announced a personal donation of £1.1 million to support projects helping young people affected by violence, the news initially generated praise. Major outlets reported that the money was being donated from Harry's own funds rather than through his foundation. But in today's social media world, even charitable acts can become the subject of intense debate. And that's exactly what's happening now. Following the announcement, some online commentators began raising questions about the source of the donation and whether more details should be publicly disclosed. Others defended Harry, pointing out that large charitable donations by public figures often attract scrutiny regardless of who makes them. Importantly, there is no public evidence proving that Harry misrepresented the donation, and multiple reports have described it as a personal contribution made by the Duke of Sussex. Yet the controversy continued to grow. Because when it comes to Harry and Meghan, almost every headline quickly turns into a bigger conversation. But here's where the story becomes even more interesting. Because this isn't really about one donation. It's about credibility.
But as the Royal News Network posted, yeah, I didn't think he had the money, nor did I think Meghan would allow him to give so much away. And of course, that is the truth. You know, her business is facing bankruptcy. They don't have the money. They are crashing through the inheritances fast. So here is how Richard Eden discovered actually the money didn't really come from Harry's own pocket, despite what he claimed. P. Diner, firstly, kudos to Richard Eden. You know I will always give credit when a mainstream journalist does actually break something that goes against the Harry and Meghan narrative. He's done that. Well done, sir. Because this is just astonishing. And it shows you what scumbags these people are, P. Diner. Nothing is really about charity. It is always about trying to turn around their disastrous PR. Shame on you, Harry.
You know, Harry is the worst of the worst because, along with his wife, they are opportunists. They are there to make themselves appear as if they are these high and mighty good leaders out to do the great things for the people. But behind the scenes of all of that, they are self serving, they are being egotistical, wanting to paint a narrative that they are doing something that is completely false to the reality. And I can see Harry absolutely doing something like this. And this is the problem. He's never really been called out. Thank goodness Richard Eden has done this digging to find out this information. And now we all know. But believe me, there is more that we don't know that Harry has done. We also can't forget where he did the exact same thing with, the book Finding Freedom, where he didn't want the narrative to be told by the truth, but he wanted to cover up the truth because he wanted the optics to look a certain way. And this is why someone like Harry falls for someone like Meghan, right? He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't know if he's coming or going, but that woman Meghan is back there pulling the strings, telling him what to do, and he's falling for it and he's doing it. He is a representation of his wife, his snarling wife who has no good bone in her, and he is just out there to do exactly what she's telling him to do. And my opinion is at some point they need to be called out, and what the king has been doing is not going to help. It needs to stop. These two need to be called out continually because everything that they do is not for the good of the people. It is to take advantage of people, to use them to prop themselves up as these good people. They capitalize off of the harm and the hurt and the misfortunes of others to make themselves look good. That is not a good thing. And it's all somewhat a representation now of the monarchy when you see the close proximity that they are now having with the monarchy. That's why it has to stop. This is a greater a problem that needs to be resolved around them coming to the UK because of things like this. It's not good for the monarchy, the real royals, and the real good work that they are doing. It has to stop.
Yeah, you cannot trust a word they say ever about anything. Everything is shrouded in a tissue of lies. Nothing ever can just be taken as fact. Doesn't matter if they're talking about the children, doesn't matter if they're talking about the family, doesn't matter if they're talking about charity. And Link Lauren this week, I think he did brilliant job actually on his excellent show Spot On, P. Diner. He's another very good analyst out of the US on this, and he's almost now talking about it as just an inevitability that at some point, for financial reasons, Meghan will end up telling all on Harry too. And Pete Dunning, you have said that for some time, haven't you, that actually in the end, and we don't know when the end will come, but when it does come, it's going to be messy.
Right. And here's the other part about this, because Meghan now is somewhat going to try to get back into the royal fold. So not only is it going to be Harry that she is going to really attack like a tiger, she is going to go in on her proximity to real royalty. And there are things that she is going to say and do that are 100% are going to hurt the monarchy. And the more chances you give to bring her back into the fold, the more momentum that she is going to have once it comes time to do these things, because we know it's going to happen. And now you just have these things with William being upset about Meghan because he understands what Meghan is about. And the king is setting himself up in the institution by allowing Meghan to come back. And so you have this woman who is just gathering information, taking photos, taking videos, writing her narrative around everything that she is having exposure to, and it's going to be twisted and turned to fit her narrative to make a lot of money in the end, because this is what is all coming to. This is going to be used to help enrich enrich Meghan. It's not about family reunion and all these things. This is why you have to be so careful around Meghan, because she is not the goodwill person that wants to do the right thing. I mean, look what she's done to her own family, for goodness sake. You think your family is going to be different? Your family is going to suddenly have the loving Meghan into back into the royal fold? No, she is there to collect information and to use it to her advantage when it becomes time to do so, once the divorce happens. Okay, if you can throw your own father under a bus, you're certainly going to throw royal blood under the bus when it becomes time to do it. Okay, this is not a good thing for the royal family at all, and William knows it.
Oh, totally. But P. Dinah, you are completely right, and Rob Shooter has been reporting on this actually over the past 24 hours, is that Meghan Markle, and look, we can all say she's delusional, but she does believe that she can win Britain back. Now, I'm telling her right now, Pete Dinah, she can't, okay? Like, she absolutely can't. But I do believe that she thinks she can. Do you see what I mean? So this is what Rob Shooter is reporting. He says, sources tell Naughty But Nice that the Duchess of Sussex sees her upcoming return to the UK as the first step in a long-term strategy to rebuild her relationship with the British public. This is the start of what friends jokingly call Operation Meghan, a source close to the couple reveals. The family trip isn't just a visit, it's the beginning of a carefully considered effort to reconnect. According to insiders, Meghan is the driving force behind the plan. This is Meghan's project, not Harry's, says a source. Harry has made peace with much of what happened. Meghan still believes perceptions can change. Those close to the Duchess say she often reflects on the extraordinary welcome she received when she married Prince Harry in 2018, when thousands lined the streets of Windsor and millions watched around the world. She remembers feeling embraced by Britain, an insider says. Meghan believes that connection can be rebuilt, but it starts with showing up. Harry is said to be more cautious. Harry's focus is his family, and moving forward, says the source, Meghan sees unfinished business. She believes there's still an opportunity to write a different ending, and that confidence remains unwavering. Meghan has always believed in herself. If anyone can pull off a comeback, she thinks it's her. The first move, returning to Britain as a family, whether Britain is ready to welcome them back, remains to be seen. I mean, of course not. Of course not. I mean, it's just so obvious, P. Dinah, isn't it? Because it's like, yeah, we've all been saying that for years. We did love her, or at least were prepared to be open to welcoming her in and hoping that her intentions were right. I certainly was, P. Dinah. I mean, if you go back and look at what I was writing in the week before the wedding, I actually penned a whole column for The Sun giving Meghan a whole load of advice about how she could thrive within the British royal family. And some of that advice was things like, don't give up your acting career. And by the way, the royal family never wanted her to give up her acting career. So my point being, P. Dinah, actually we were open, but we're not open now because you've called us all racists and you've tried to destroy the British royal family. So, I mean, she's just nuts to think that there's a way back, because I don't believe there ever is. Seriously, I don't believe there ever is. There was no way back for Wallace Simpson ever. P. Dinah, ever.
Right.
And decades changed nothing. She took away our king. She was a Nazi sympathizer.
Right.
You know, Meghan, you were as bad because you took away our prince and you tried to bring down the whole British royal family. Arguably, that's even worse than what Wallace Simpson did.
Right. I mean, you think about it, Wallace Simpson, all she did was, okay, she married the king. I mean, the king. She didn't go against the monarchy. She wasn't out there doing things against, the people. She did nothing and she was still exiled. No way. Meghan has done a lot to hurt people. She's done a lot to retaliate and to do things that are not okay. So absolutely, girl, what are you thinking? Yeah, show up and eat humble pie. There's no way you're coming back to the UK and think people are going to embrace you again. This is a part of her delusion. This girl has no clue. She thinks people are going to accept her again. What are you thinking? Absolutely not. I think Meghan needs to be put in her place. Absolutely. Because she will never learn. She's already talking about doing things to hurt the monarchy. There was something that came out about trying to humiliate Prince William with some announcement. I guess Harry is going to make some announcement that's supposed to humiliate William. They're already plotting against them and they're not even in the UK. Meghan, girl, I'm looking at you with the side eye all day because nobody is welcoming you back. you haven't even thought about trying to even show humility and to say you're sorry. And you think people will embrace you again? Like, that is a distant memory, what they once thought of you. They once loved you. Those days are gone, honey. That ship has sailed. Never again are you going to be ever loved again. At this point, it's the complete opposite forever. Never again. So come back at your own risk is what I say.
Absolutely. And maybe what we loved, was the idea of Harry being happy and supporting him and just hoping that you were in it for the right reasons. And we were prepared to give you the benefit of the doubt and how wrong we were. Although I know there'll be some of you who are watching right now, and credit to you. There are a lot of you saying at the time, no, Dan, she's a wrong'un. But Pete Diner, we were prepared to give her a chance because, I think everyone has a right to be given that opportunity. Unfortunately, very, very quickly. And remember, with me, I was doing it not out of opinion. I was doing it out of factual reporting. What was actually happening behind the scenes. It wasn't my opinion, P. Diner. It was the late Queen's opinion. It was Catherine's opinion. So people shouldn't attack me for that. Of course, now I have developed my own opinion about it. But at the time, P. Diner, I'm going back to 2018 here. At the time, in 2019, I was just reporting how members of the royal family felt about Meghan. And then we were able to make our own judgment as we then watched her behavior. But what's really interesting this week, P. Diner, and I was surprised by this, because you'd think this week the MSM and the establishment media who have been part of this Project Thor, Operation Thor, as Richard Eden talks about it, to bring Harry and Meghan back, would actually be supporting them. But they lost one of their biggest allies. And this was very curious to me. It's Liz Jones, who has really been one of the propagandists for Harry and Meghan in the mainstream media. She's been very tough on Catherine and William. But this week, P. Diner, in a very surprising column, not because I disagree with her, but because it goes totally against the narrative, she turned and she said, the cracks in Harry and Meghan's perfect facade have started to show. It's so obvious he's tiring of her tone-deaf approach, and I predict there's serious trouble in store. Now, okay, she's right. She's right. We've been saying all of that for months, but why this week did she turn? That's what I'm really interested about. So she said, in recent months, public appearances and social media posts from the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have made it seem as though the couple are not only on different paths, but they inhabit different planets. Take Harry's appearance at the NBA Finals in San Antonio last weekend. While we might have expected to see him sitting courtside with the likes of A-listers Taylor Swift, Timothy Chalamet, and Kylie Jenner, Harry chose to sit 8 rows back with US Army veteran JP Lane. All he wants is to lay low and surround himself with the right people. Might Meghan have pushed to sit with the limelight-hugging stars if they'd gone together? Now, I don't want to come off all Paul and Linda McCartney. Once married, Paul insisted his wife and children came on tour because he knew the dangers of long periods apart. Of course, married couples don't have to be joined at the hip. Separate passions mean you have more to discuss, and you often enjoy the time you do get together far more. And maybe Meghan couldn't stomach yet another NBA match. But it's not just the basketball game from that weekend which proves my point. On the same day of the match, Harry delivered a video message about his upcoming Invictus Games in Dusseldorf for wounded, injured, and sick military personnel and veterans. Harry commended Germany for setting a powerful example of what it means to honour service with dignity and enduring commitment. Meanwhile, on the same day, Meghan was busy posting a photo dump captioned "Spring into Summer." The images including her lying on the grass, nature shots, Archie playing, onion cutting, whatever the hell that is, Lilibet's t-shirt, and a hug with her hubby. It's a clash of the bucolic with Meghan's additional aim of selling stuff juxtaposed with her husband's desire to make a difference. The chasm between Harry's commitment to duty and Meghan's obsession with building an influencer brand is hardly new. Let me walk you through how the cracks in the Sussex's perfect facade have started to show in the past few months. Why was she posting photos of her young daughter on social media on the eve of an address warning against the dangers of such platforms? Surely the irony can't have been lost on Harry. You can imagine him reeling at his wife's tone-deaf approach, particularly because his preference for privacy is no secret. Might things change when the family returns to Britain next month for Harry's promotion of the 2027 Invictus Games in Birmingham? Meghan has had to be a grifter to make her way in Hollywood, whereas Harry never had to try. First, she found success as an actor. Now she's living akin to a Made in Chelsea or Real Housewives star, not an offshoot of the royal family, promoting her clothes, launching a lifestyle brand, and constantly sharing snaps of domestic idyll on Instagram. As Harry wrote in his notorious memoir Spare, for him fame is nothing more than a joke or fancy captivity. He's more interested in doing good. But for Meghan, the perfect life is all about branding and staying relevant. So can the Sussexes overcome their starkly different approaches to publicity? So, P. Dinah, I thought it was worth sharing that, not because we haven't covered any of those total inconsistencies. Of course we have. But it's always interesting, isn't it, when an ally of Harry and Meghan, someone who has tried to go against the narrative to convince people like you or convince people like me that we are in some way wrong, actually comes on board. I guess for me, the takeaway of that column, though, is that she's very much blaming Meghan, and I think is trying to paint Harry as some type of altruistic guy full of virtue. And surely, P. Dinah, the story that we discussed at the top of the show in terms of Harry lying about the financial donation to the charity, or at the very least misleading where it came from, proves that he isn't Mr. Good Guy as she paints it here. But what do you make of this real U-turn, this 180 from Liz Jones?
I think that there is something that is going on that she as well cannot overlook. You know, we know that Harry and Meghan are on completely different paths, and at some point you're going to have to align yourself with what the truth is and what is actually happening. And I think that's where she's coming from. We see that Meghan is on this whole thing around celebrity and fame, and Harry does not want that. And imagine the way that sets a couple apart. You know, how something like that could really have them somewhat turn on each other. You know, you have your children now who are a part of this divide, and then it becomes more inflamed because you want one thing for your children and the spouse wants something completely different. And so when these things start to happen, this realignment of what, you know, was once said by an ally starts to change to the actual truth of the matter, because now you're going to have to pick a side and figure out, okay, you know, this is what's happening. And that's, I think, what she has done here. And that is the reality. That is going to be the ultimate breaking point, I believe, of this marriage. You cannot sustain a marriage completely going in two different directions, especially when children are involved. Okay, so this is just her saying something that I believe is true, and it's coming true, and it's only going to get worse as time goes on. So,
since stepping back from royal duties, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle have been under an extraordinary level of scrutiny. Their business ventures, their charitable activities, their public appearances, everything they do is carefully examined. Supporters argue that the couple are often unfairly criticized. Critics argue that public figures should expect tough questions. As a result, even positive news stories can quickly become controversial. That's why this latest debate has captured so much attention. Because it touches on a bigger issue: trust. Charitable giving is deeply personal. For many people, donations represent compassion and a desire to make a difference. When questions arise about any high-profile donation, emotions can run high. Some people become protective. Others become skeptical. And social media often amplifies those emotions. That's one reason this story has generated such strong reactions online. Because people care deeply about charity, transparency, and public trust. But perhaps the biggest question isn't about the donation itself. Perhaps the real question is this: can Harry and Meghan ever escape the cycle of controversy that seems to follow almost everything they do? At the same time that this donation story has been making headlines, renewed speculation continues about the Sussexes' future relationship with the UK and the royal family. Stories involving possible visits, reconciliation, and future plans continue to attract enormous attention. Whether it's charity, business, or family relationships, Harry and Meghan remain among the most discussed public figures in the world. And that level of interest means every development quickly becomes international news. Because people aren't just following individual stories. They're following the next chapter of a much larger royal narrative. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this latest controversy isn't the claims or the headlines. It's the fact that millions of people remain deeply invested in every move Harry and Meghan make. A charitable donation. A possible UK visit. A new rumor. Each story becomes part of a much bigger conversation about reputation, trust, and the future of the Sussexes. And there is little sign that public fascination is fading. So, are the questions surrounding Harry's donation simply another example of intense public scrutiny? Or do they show how difficult it can be for high-profile figures to avoid controversy, even when supporting charitable causes? Only those closest to the situation know the full details. But one thing is certain. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle remain at the center of one of the most compelling and closely watched stories in the world today. Do you think public figures face more scrutiny than ever when it comes to their charitable work? Or is asking tough questions about high-profile donations perfectly reasonable? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy royal news, palace drama, and in-depth analysis of the biggest stories involving Harry, Meghan, William, Catherine, and King Charles, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Because the next royal headline could be even more surprising than this one.